Stop for a second. Before you keep scrolling, there's something you need to hear that most men go their entire lives without understanding. You've probably been reading women the wrong way this whole time. Not because you lack intelligence, not because you aren't paying attention, but because no one ever explained how women truly communicate attraction. And that one misunderstanding may have cost you far more opportunities and connections than you realize. Stay with me, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly what you've been overlooking. By the end of this conversation, you'll understand 8 powerful signs that a woman is genuinely attracted to you, even when she never says it directly. But beyond that, I'm also going to explain something even more important. I'm going to show you why the men women are often most drawn toward are usually the last ones to recognize it themselves. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something honestly. Have you ever entered a room and felt like nobody even noticed you? Have you replayed conversations in your mind afterward, wondering if she was actually interested or if you imagined the whole thing? Have you ever thought to yourself, maybe I'm just not that kind of man? If that sounds familiar, I need you to slow down for a moment, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at your past experiences. The men who doubt themselves the most are often the same men women quietly feel most attracted to. Not because of arrogance, not because of appearance, but because of something much deeper: presence. And we're going to break down exactly what that means. But first, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, because these conversations are for men who are finally ready to see themselves clearly and understand attraction on a completely different level. Here's what most men were never taught growing up. Women experience attraction very differently than men do. Men often experience attraction as immediate forward momentum. You see someone attractive and instantly think, I want to talk to her. It's straightforward and direct. Women experience attraction differently. For women, attraction begins with awareness. She first wonders, does he notice me? Before she decides how to move, she studies your energy. She observes you carefully. She positions herself around you. She sends signals instead of announcements. And if you've spent your life waiting for women to make attraction obvious or aggressively pursue you, you've been expecting the wrong language entirely. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through 8 signs that reveal you are likely far more attractive than you think, even if self-doubt has followed you for years. And as we go through each sign, I want you to look at yourself honestly, not from insecurity and not from ego, just from awareness. And pay close attention, because by the 5th sign, many men say something shifts inside them completely. That same shift may happen for you too. Let's begin. The first sign is lingering eye contact. This is probably the most universal attraction signal women give, and yet it's the one men overlook constantly. Here's how it usually happens. You're somewhere ordinary: a cafe, the gym, a social gathering, maybe even work. You glance up and your eyes meet hers. But instead of immediately looking away like strangers normally do, she holds the eye contact for just a second longer than necessary. There's a tiny pause, a brief moment of stillness. Then she finally looks away. Most men dismiss this instantly, but psychologically, that extra second matters enormously. Research in nonverbal communication shows that extended eye contact activates emotional arousal, increases perceived intimacy, and signals recognition. We simply don't maintain eye contact with people we feel completely indifferent toward. The nervous system doesn't invest energy that way. And here's the detail most men miss. She looks back again. That second glance matters. It's not random, it's confirmation. Think about your own behavior. When something doesn't interest you, you barely notice it. But when something catches your attention, you look twice. You verify the feeling. She's doing the exact same thing. The first look is curiosity. The second look is courage. Quietly, she's asking, "Did you notice me too?" And confidence in that moment isn't about staring intensely. It's about calm steadiness, relaxed eye contact, a subtle smile, quiet certainty. If this has happened to you before, understand something clearly. You are not invisible. Now let's move to sign number 2, proximity. Attractive men naturally create a kind of gravitational pull. You may notice women choosing to stand near you, joining conversations you're already part of, or sitting beside you even when there are other open spaces available. That is rarely accidental. It's positioning. Women typically don't pursue attraction directly, but they absolutely create opportunities for connection. Psychologically, proximity increases emotional bonding. Studies on the mere exposure effect consistently show that physical closeness builds familiarity and positive association. By placing herself near you, she is increasing the chances of interaction and placing herself inside your awareness. I once worked with a man in his early 60s who genuinely believed women no longer noticed him. Yet at his favorite cafe, the same woman repeatedly chose the seat beside him on 3 separate occasions. He assumed it was coincidence. It wasn't. The moment he shifted from insecurity into awareness, everything about his energy changed. He became calmer, more engaged, more quietly confident. Awareness changed the entire dynamic. Sign number 3. People become attentive when you speak. Have you ever noticed conversations quieting slightly when you start talking? Have you seen people physically turn toward you while you're speaking? That's presence. And presence is one of the most underrated forms of attraction that exists. Psychologists refer to part of this as the halo effect. When someone is perceived as high value socially or emotionally, people subconsciously give them more attention and credibility. And interestingly, this becomes even more powerful with age. Youth often demands attention loudly. Maturity attracts differently. It resonates quietly. You don't need to dominate a room to have presence. You simply need to feel anchored within it. Slow your speech slightly. Lower your tone a bit. Pause before responding instead of rushing to fill silence. Silence naturally amplifies attention. If you've ever experienced that feeling where you weren't demanding attention, but people still gravitated toward your words, understand something. That is magnetism. Now let's talk about sign 4, mirroring. This one is subtle, but incredibly revealing. Mirroring happens when someone unconsciously begins matching your body language or rhythm. You lean back, she leans back. You slow your speech, her cadence softens too. You touch your face, and moments later, she does something similar. This is not imitation, it's nervous system synchronization. When people feel emotionally safe and attracted to someone, their bodies naturally begin aligning. Mirror neurons in the brain activate when we observe people we feel connected to. It's biological rapport in real time. If you notice a woman subtly matching your gestures, pace, or posture, her nervous system is communicating something important. I feel comfortable here. And for women especially, safety almost always comes before desire. Here's something you can try yourself. Subtly mirror one small aspect of her posture after a few moments. Nothing exaggerated, just gentle alignment. You'll often feel the connection deepen almost immediately. Attraction is rarely loud. It's layered, energetic, gradual. Now we move into sign 5, and this is the one that surprises men the most. Her compliments go beyond your appearance. If a woman says, "You look nice today," that's surface-level attraction. Physical impressions happen quickly and automatically. But when she says things like, "I really like your energy," or "You make me feel comfortable," or "There's something different about you," she's describing your presence, not your appearance. And that matters deeply. Research consistently shows that emotional safety and authenticity are some of the strongest predictors of long-term attraction. When a woman says she feels relaxed or comfortable around you, she's saying her nervous system feels safe in your presence. That creates attraction on a level many men never fully understand. I once coached a man in his late 50s who constantly heard women say, "You're so easy to talk to." He assumed they were simply being polite, but what they were actually responding to was his calmness. He listened carefully. He didn't interrupt. He wasn't trying desperately to impress anyone. His grounded energy created emotional safety women rarely experienced elsewhere. He saw himself as average. They experienced him as deeply calming. There's a massive difference between those two things. So the next time someone compliments your vibe, your steadiness, your energy, don't dismiss it. Accept it. Say thank you. Confidence grows when you stop rejecting positive feedback. Sign 6. You catch people looking at you repeatedly. Repeated glances, quick observations from across the room, eye contact happening more than once. Human beings are biologically wired to scan environments for social value. We naturally notice individuals who stand out through composure, posture, confidence, or emotional energy. It's not always about physical perfection. Presence matters far more than most men realize. When you walk into a room and notice subtle shifts in awareness around you, that's recognition. Attraction often appears quietly through tracking behavior, not dramatic gestures. Here's something practical. The next time you enter a public space, don't immediately look at your phone or stare at the ground. Relax your shoulders. Keep your chin level. Walk calmly and deliberately. Observe the room instead of hiding from it. You may be surprised by how often awareness quietly meets awareness. Now we arrive at sign 7, and interestingly, this one has nothing directly to do with women at all. Pay attention to how other men respond to you. Women observe male social dynamics carefully. Men are biologically wired to assess status and value, and women instinctively register those dynamics too. Signs of respect from other men look like this. They listen when you speak instead of interrupting. They ask for your opinion. They introduce you positively, or they subtly defer to your presence in group settings. Competition looks different. One-upmanship, backhanded compliments, attempts to dominate conversations when women are nearby. Ironically, both reactions signal value. Respect means you're recognized. Competition means you're perceived as a threat. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, social proof strongly influences attraction. When other men treat you as someone valuable, women notice automatically. And here's the important part. Truly attractive men rarely fight aggressively for status. Real confidence stabilizes instead of escalating. The strongest presence in the room is often the calmest one. Now let's move into the final sign, because this changes everything. You hear comments like, "I can't believe you're single," or "You probably have so many options," even before romance has been discussed. Why do women say this? Because non-desperate energy stands out immediately. Desperation has a psychological signature. It appears in over-texting, seeking constant reassurance, over-explaining yourself, and chasing validation. Abundance energy feels completely different. It's calm, patient, relaxed. It doesn't rush intimacy or cling emotionally. Women are incredibly sensitive to the difference between scarcity and abundance energy, even if they can't consciously explain it. If she senses that you are emotionally stable regardless of whether she chooses you, you immediately become more attractive. And here's the irony. You may not actually have endless options, but if you carry yourself like someone who values himself, people assume you do. Perception influences attraction powerfully. Now let me say something important. If you recognized even 2 or 3 of these signs, there's a strong chance you are far more attractive than you've allowed yourself to believe. The problem is rarely appearance. The problem is usually self-perception. Over years of studying human behavior, I've noticed something fascinating. The men who are genuinely attractive are often the least aware of it. Why? Because most men were taught to judge themselves only through obvious outcomes. Did she say yes? Did she text back? Did she make her attraction unmistakable? But female attraction rarely works like a scoreboard. It works like a current, subtle, emotional, energetic. And if you were taught to ignore subtlety, you may have spent years surrounded by genuine interest without realizing it. I once worked with a divorced man in his 60s who described himself as background noise. Yet women consistently chose gym equipment near him. A barista remembered his name and leaned toward him while speaking. Women at community events laughed easily at his jokes and asked follow-up questions. He dismissed every one of those experiences because none of them looked like obvious pursuit. What he failed to understand was that his calm eye contact, thoughtful pauses, and grounded demeanor were deeply magnetic. But because he didn't internally feel attractive, his brain filtered out all the evidence that contradicted his self-image. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Your mind searches for information that confirms what you already believe while ignoring anything that challenges it. If you believe you aren't attractive, you will literally overlook signs that prove otherwise. So the work now is internal. And this may be the most important thing I say in this entire conversation. Your identity can change. Not through arrogance, through awareness. Here's how you begin. First, start keeping what I call an evidence journal. Every evening, write down one moment of positive social feedback. A smile, extended eye contact, someone leaning closer while speaking to you, a warm interaction. Don't analyze it, don't minimize it, just record it. Over time, your brain starts building new evidence against the old negative narrative. New neural pathways form. Your identity slowly updates. Second, regulate your nervous system before entering social environments. Take 3 slow breaths. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. Relax your jaw. Relax your shoulders. This simple action shifts your body out of stress mode and into connection mode. People feel that shift before you even speak. Third, reclaim past evidence. Think back to 3 moments in your life where a woman clearly showed interest in you, even if it never became a relationship. Write those moments down and ask yourself what version of yourself you were embodying at that time. Were you relaxed, present, focused on enjoying the moment instead of monitoring yourself constantly? Attraction often appears strongest when you are simply being yourself naturally. Now let's bring this full circle. The moment you stop obsessing over whether you're attractive enough, you begin asking a much healthier question. Does this person actually align with what I want? That shift changes everything. Instead of chasing approval, you begin evaluating calmly. Your energy becomes steadier, less needy, less urgent, more grounded. And grounded masculine energy naturally invites feminine energy to open. Standards are attractive. Selectivity is attractive. Desperation fades the moment self-respect rises. Picture this. You walk into a room calmly. Your shoulders are relaxed, your eyes steady. You greet people naturally. You engage in meaningful conversations without trying to impress everyone. You laugh genuinely. You excuse yourself confidently instead of clinging for attention. Across the room, a woman notices. She notices your calmness. She notices your lack of neediness. She notices how other people respond to you. And gradually, quietly, she moves closer. That's how attraction usually unfolds. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, gradually, powerfully. And you'll miss all of it if you keep waiting for the obvious. So before we finish, ask yourself one final question. If you truly believed you were attractive, not just physically, but energetically, how differently would you behave tomorrow? Would you speak more calmly? Hold eye contact a little longer? Stop overanalyzing every interaction? That transformation starts now. Attraction is not something you chase endlessly. It's something you embody. And once you understand that, you stop wondering where you stand. You stand firmly, and the right woman feels it naturally. If this conversation shifted something inside you today, like the video, not for the algorithm, but as a signal to yourself that you're ready to see yourself differently. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. Every week, we dive deeply into masculine presence, emotional intelligence, attraction psychology, and what it really means to thrive in this chapter of life. And before you go, tell me in the comments which sign resonated with you the most. Was it the eye contact, the proximity, the silence when you speak, or the assumption that you already have options? I read every single comment because sometimes one man's realization becomes the exact thing another man needed to hear.